Good morning from Mission Control Houston at NASA's Johnson Space Center. We are coming to you live from the International Space Station's Flight Control Room as we begin our coverage of the arrival of SpaceX's 32nd Commercial Resupply Services mission to the space station. Flight controllers here belonging to the Orbit 1 team are preparing for the arrival of Dragon, which is scheduled to dock to station about an hour and 53 minutes from now. This is following its The NASA Flight Control team here in Mission Control Houston and the SpaceX team in Hawthorne, California entered into integrated operations a short time ago. The teams activated Dragon's navigation systems and turned on C2V2, which stands for Common Communication for Visiting Vehicles. It's a comm system that links Dragon with the space station crew. The teams also pulled go for the upcoming approach initiation burn that is targeted to take place approximately 5:49 a.m. Central. For this morning's docking, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA astronaut and current space station commander Takuya Onishi and NASA astronaut Johnny Kim will be monitoring in the station's window to the world known as the cupola.
Success in finding 4103. It was stealthy. It was tucked into a Norris tank shell, so it was definitely hiding.
That's very sneaky. You said inside a Norris tank shell?
Firm, so it was like taking up the volume of a Norris tank.
Gotcha. Very sneaky.
That was the voice of Capcom, our capsule communicator, Gunny Lesarge, who was talking to Nicole Ayers aboard Space Station. Again, the teams pulled go for the upcoming approach initiation burn, and that is targeted to take place in about a minute from now at 5:49 a.m. Central.
Vapor Houston, just continuing that conversation. If you guys elect to stow it back there, please let us know, and we'll log it at this time so future finding it can be easier.
And Houston, we copy that. We will let you know if we decide to do that.
Copy that, TAC. Do let us know. Or I mean, you could hide it, and we'll do this again in the future. And just to be clear, that was a joke.
Thanks for clarification.
That was the voice of JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi, by the nickname Talk. They were calling him. He is currently the commander of the International Space Station. The approach initiation burn is underway, and this minute-and-a-half firing of Dragon's Draco thrusters sets the spacecraft on its path to begin its final climb to up and under the space station to a checkpoint called Waypoint 0. Dragon has completed its 90-second approach initiation burn, and with that minute-and-a-half firing of Dragon...
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. Approach initiation burn is complete. Dragon is 30 minutes to 1,000 meters. Additionally, for talk, we would like to check on your USOS shutter close activity.
Copy that. I'm just closing the cupola shutters, and lab shutter has been closed, and we have Dragon inside.
Houston copies. Thank you.
With that, the minute-and-a-half firing of Dragon's Draco thrusters put the spacecraft on its final climb to up and under the space station to a checkpoint called Waypoint 0. We expect Dragon to arrive to this checkpoint, Waypoint 0, in about 45 minutes from now. Here on the ground in Houston, Flight Director Elias Mirmo is overseeing today's spacecraft arrival. His role today is to work closely with his team of flight controllers to oversee this operation. Capcom, or capsule communicator, who you see to his right, is Gunny Lesarge on console today. This position serves as the primary communication between mission control and the crew aboard station. You're looking live at the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft as it's flying over the east coast of Africa over Madagascar. The spacecraft is on its way to dock autonomously to the Zenith port of station's Harmony module this morning, delivering approximately 3 tons of cargo to the crew of Expedition 73. This particular Dragon spacecraft is no stranger to the space station. It previously flew 4 cargo resupply missions for NASA, including the 22nd, 24th, 27th, and 30th missions, with the most recent flight being in March of last year. It'll stay docked to the station for about 1 month before splashing down off the coast of California to return critical science and hardware to teams on Earth. With the help of the AI burn, Dragon is making its final climb to up and under the space station, expecting about 45 minutes to get there. It's called Waypoint 0. Let's take a moment to recap yesterday's launch to where we are today.
2, 1, ignition, and lift off.
The SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft launched atop a Falcon 9 rocket from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida yesterday, Monday, April 21st at 3:15 a.m. Central. This is SpaceX's 32nd Commercial Resupply Services mission for NASA to the International Space Station. Dragon will deliver more than 3 tons of new science investigations, food, supplies, and equipment to the crew of 7. About 11 minutes after liftoff, Dragon itself separated from the second or upper stage of the Falcon 9 rocket into its preliminary orbit. After Dragon itself separated from the second or upper stage, the forward nose cap on the cargo spacecraft was then opened to expose the docking mechanism. That'll come into play a little bit later on this morning upon Dragon's arrival. And over the last 27 hours following liftoff, Dragon has continued to execute a series of burns which have gradually raised its orbit to align more closely with space station. There were 5 major burns or firings of the Draco thrusters on Dragon that have been bringing the spacecraft close to station as we begin final approach maneuvers this morning. And that brings us to the final phase of rendezvous by Dragon this morning, where there'll be several checkpoints before docking to the Zenith port of station's Harmony module, which was recently vacated by Crew 9 last month. Docking is scheduled this morning for approximately 7:38 a.m. Central, 8:38 a.m. Eastern. Let's take a look at Dragon's path to station we'll be following along this morning. Dragon just completed its 90-second approach initiation burn, and that minute-and-a-half firing of Dragon's Draco thrusters set the spacecraft on its path to begin its final climb to up and under the space station to a checkpoint called Waypoint 0. We expect Dragon to arrive to this checkpoint, Waypoint 0, in just under 30 minutes from now. Once Dragon arrives to that checkpoint at 40 meters below station at Waypoint 0, that's the first checkout during our approach, and the vehicle won't pause at Waypoint 0 if all systems check out on its path to the docking port. Waypoint 0 is inside the approach ellipsoid, but outside the keep-out sphere. These are the two safety zones around the space station that requires a set of go, no-go poles with the different control teams. Once we get the go to go through Waypoint 0, we'll move out in a long looping maneuver in front of and then above the station to a point called Waypoint 1, where all systems will be evaluated by the SpaceX Flight Control Team in Hawthorne, California, and the Flight Control Team here in Houston. After Waypoint 1 is then the terminal phase of the approach inside the keep-out sphere at Waypoint 2. Waypoint 2 will begin with various checkpoints and a short pit stop before Dragon makes contact and capture at the Zenith port of the Harmony module. You're looking live at the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft as it and the space station are flying over the southern Indian Ocean. If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival to the International Space Station. The Dragon spacecraft will dock autonomously to the Zenith port of station's Harmony module, delivering approximately 3 tons of cargo to the crew of Expedition 73. That arrival time is approximately 7:38 a.m. Central, 8:38 a.m. Eastern. We are coming up on the AI mid-course burn, and this fine-tunes the path following the AI burn on its way to waypoint 0, which is a position approximately 400 meters directly below the space station. The AI mid-course burn is underway, and this fine-tunes the path following the AI burn on the way to waypoint 0, that is approximately 400 meters below the space station. The AI mid-course burn is complete, and this fine-tunes the path as Dragon is making its final climb to waypoint 0. There are currently 7 crew members living and working aboard the International Space Station as part of Expedition 73. On the left here of their official portrait are NASA astronauts Nicole Ayers and Johnny Kim, as well as Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. In the center is cosmonaut Sergei Ryzhikov. And on the right is NASA astronaut Anne McLean, cosmonaut Alexei Zubritsky, and JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi, who is currently serving as the commander of the International Space Station. The Expedition 73 patch you see in the center of the crew portrait honors the science and scientists that make space exploration possible and their contributions to which the International Space Station exists. The Expedition 73 crew shared that they had designed certain elements of their patch to represent our continued international collaboration and connection to science and the cosmos. The number 73 is a prime number and a binary palindrome represented at the base of the patch. And 73 is also a star number represented by the hexagonal shape of the patch, accented by white stars, which symbolizes the crew's dedication to space exploration. If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival to the International Space Station. Right now, Dragon is making its final climb to waypoint 0. And we are currently about 4 minutes away from the planned go or no-go call to approach waypoint 1.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. Dragon range is approximately 1,000 meters. Monitor long-range approach per steps 1 to 4 in 1.102 Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Station copy, visual on Dragon, attitude is expected.
Houston copies.
The teams here just pulled go to go ahead and move past and through waypoint 0 here in about 10 minutes and then continue on to waypoint 1. Waypoint 1 places Dragon on what is called the docking axis directly in front of the docking port. With the go to approach waypoint 1, that means all Dragon systems checked out nominally on its path to the docking port. With that go to approach waypoint 1, this means the vehicle won't pause at waypoint 0 and will continue on to that waypoint 1. Now, once past waypoint 0, the spacecraft begins its long looping maneuver that eventually brings it in front of and then above station to a point onto waypoint 1, which is approximately 220 meters or 720 feet away from the space station. Waypoint 1 puts the vehicle right on the docking axis in front of the docking port. Again, waypoint 1 brings Dragon 220 meters or 720 feet, which is roughly 2.5 football fields away from space station in front of the docking port. If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival to the International Space Station. Teams pulled go for the spacecraft to go to waypoint 1. And we're currently awaiting Dragon's arrival to the first checkpoint, which is waypoint 0. With that go to approach waypoint 1, that means Dragon can go past and through waypoint 0 on its way to waypoint 1, which is the docking access, roughly about 2.5 football fields away from the docking port. We're about 10 minutes away from Dragon's arrival to waypoint 0, which is the first checkout of approach at approximately 400 meters below station. You're looking at a live look at the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft as it makes its way to the International Space Station. You see those green and red lights on either side of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft. The starboard or right side is green and the port side is on the left is red. As we await Dragon's arrival to the first checkpoint of approach at 400 meters below station, called Waypoint 0, a reminder that since we heard that go for approach to Waypoint 1, Dragon won't pause at Waypoint 0, but will continue through and past it on its way to Waypoint 1. All Dragon systems have checked out nominally, and once past waypoint 0, the spacecraft begins its long looping maneuver in front of and then above the station to a point onto waypoint 1, which you see here on this graphic is approximately 220 meters or 720 feet directly in front of the docking port on Space Station. Waypoint 1, which you see there on your graphic, is also called the docking axis, which places Dragon directly in front of the zenith port. Again, that is roughly 720 feet or about 2.5 football fields away. If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival to the International Space Station. This is SpaceX's 30-second cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA and is en route to deliver about 6,700 pounds of research and supplies to Expedition 73. Right now, the space station is traveling southwest to northeast over the Pacific Ocean, and soon station will cross into California almost directly over San Francisco. Dragon is closing in on that waypoint 0. It's 400 meters below the space station, currently 424 meters away. All Dragon systems have checked out nominally, and we are awaiting its arrival to the first checkpoint about 400 meters below station. Dragon is 30 seconds to waypoint 0, which puts it on 400 meters below the space station.
Houston Station, vehicle mode, transition to docking access, range 401 meters, decreasing, attitude as expected.
Houston copies. That's a good block, Bravo.
Dragon has reached its first checkpoint in its approach at waypoint 0 and is en route to waypoint 1. With the help of earlier's approach initiation burn about 45 minutes ago, Dragon has arrived to waypoint 0, which is 400 meters or 1,300 feet below the International Space Station, and is continuing on toward waypoint 1. About 10 minutes ago, we heard that go for approach to waypoint 1 call, meaning that all Dragon systems checked out nominally. With that nominal checkout, Dragon did not need to pause here at waypoint 0 and is continuing directly onto waypoint 1, currently beginning its long looping maneuver in the front of and then above station to a point which is about 220 meters or 721 feet away from space station. Waypoint 1 also puts Dragon on the docking axis directly in front of the Zenith port, again 220 meters or 720 feet directly in front of that port. If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival at the International Space Station. The Dragon spacecraft will dock autonomously to the Zenith port of the station's Harmony module, delivering approximately 3 tons of cargo to the crew of Expedition 73. That arrival time is approximately 7:38 a.m. Central, 8:38 a.m. Eastern. All the Dragon systems have checked out nominally on its path to the docking port. Dragon has reached its first checkpoint at waypoint 0. Later this year, the International Space Station will reach a landmark milestone in the history of human spaceflight with 25 years of a continuous human presence on the orbiting lab. That means anyone born after November 2nd, 2000 has never lived on Earth with every other person at the same time. And while the number 25 generally marks the silver anniversary, station is really in its golden age right now, maximizing its scientific return. Results are compounding, new benefits are materializing, and innovative research and technology demonstrations are building on previous work to benefit life here on Earth and further NASA's missions to deep space.
And liftoff. International Space Station is underway.
We are in the golden age of the space station right now in terms of the return on investment and what we're able to do there.
One of the great legacies of the space station is not just going to be science, but very importantly, the international cooperation. This is perhaps most prominent, international cooperation for exploration.
Even after almost 25 years of continuous human presence, station isn't slowing down anytime soon and maintains a heavy operational tempo. This past month has been incredibly busy. Alongside our commercial crew program counterparts, station kicked off the past month with the Crew 9, Crew 10 crew rotation. Crew 10 launched March 14th, and after a short handover period, the teams brought Crew 9 back home on March 18th, which vacated the port Dragon is docking to today. Soon after, on April 8th, NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, along with his cosmonaut crewmate Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky, launched aboard the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft, arriving to station a few hours later. From there, just this Friday, Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexei Ovchinin handed over command of the International Space Station to JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi, who is helping oversee today's operation. And then just this past Saturday evening, NASA astronaut Don Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin and Ivan Wagner undocked from station. That marks the beginning of Expedition 73. And after 220 days and 93.3 million miles in space, NASA astronaut Don Pettit returned to Earth at 8:20 p.m. Central on Saturday, April 19th, which was April 20th and Don's 70th birthday Kazakhstan time. And looking ahead, we have a spacewalk planned for May 1st with NASA astronauts Nicole Ayers and Anne McLean. They'll work to relocate a communications antenna as well as install a mounting bracket ahead of the installation of an additional set of International Space Station Rollout Solar Arrays, or IROSA. The IROSAs will increase power generation capability by up to 30%, increasing the station's total available power from 160 kilowatts up to 215. And those arrays will be installed on a future spacewalk following their arrival on a SpaceX Dragon commercial resupply mission just like this one, launching later this year. And to round out all the busy operations, we also have our fourth private astronaut mission to the space station, Axiom Mission 4, targeted for next month, no earlier than May 2025.
Houston Station 02 for WHC.
With you on 2, Vapor, go ahead.
I'm on step 5.1. After opening the valve, separator and dose pump lights both came on, and then the dose pump light went off. And the pre-treat brad call light came on. It's a verify step, so I'm wondering if you guys want me to just run the cue card and turn off the WHC and then do a couple manual doses, or stand by for now.
Vapor Houston will take a couple of manual doses per block November.
Copy that.
The International Space Station and Dragon are currently passing over the northwest United States. You're looking at a real-time map of the International Space Station as it's in its position over the world. You'll notice that on either side of the screen it looks slightly darker. These indicate orbital nighttime periods. The International Space Station sees 16 sunrises and sunsets a day, and this map serves as a great representation of how that works. Again, the International Space Station and Dragon are passing over the northwest United States, about to enter into an orbital sunrise. We are currently in an expected loss of signal for our video views, and we're going to remain that way just before docking at approximately 7:38 a.m. Central.
Vapor Houston's back with you on 2. Go ahead.
Getting so I have run Black November. I've given it 4 doses, and the pre-treat bad qual light is still on. Do you want me to continue with manual doses?
Vapor Houston, stand by. We're seeing that the light is off. However, we want to data gather for a few seconds here, if that's okay.
Bet.
If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival to the International Space Station. We are currently in an expected loss of signal for our video views as the space station passes around the Earth. Feeds are transferred between satellites through our tracking and data relay satellite system. We're expected to regain these video views before docking. The Dragon spacecraft will dock autonomously to the zenith port of station's Harmony module, delivering approximately 3 tons of cargo to the crew of Expedition 73. All Dragon systems have checked out nominally so far on its path to the docking port. Dragon has reached its first checkout at waypoint 0 and is currently in a long looping maneuver on the edge of station's keep-out sphere, making its way to waypoint 1, which will put Dragon on a docking access directly in front of the docking port. And while Dragon is making its way to waypoint 1, we're expecting the go, no go approach to waypoint 2 call in about 4 minutes here at 7 a.m. Central. The go for approach to waypoint 2 brings Dragon inside the keep-out sphere before contact at the zenith port of the Harmony module. So again, Dragon's reached that first checkpoint at waypoint 0, and it's currently making that long looping maneuver you see here in this graphic on the edge of the station's keep-out sphere. It's making its way to waypoint 1, which will put Dragon on the docking access 220 meters or 721 feet directly in front of the docking port. If you're just joining us, this is SpaceX's 30-second cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA and is en route to deliver about 6,700 pounds of research and supplies to the Expedition 73 crew.
Station Houston on 2 for Vapor. I just want to let you know we're still talking about the WHC doses. We'll get back with you here in a few.
Okay, copy that. And you want me to leave the fan running and the valve open for this, right?
That's affirmative. Good readback.
Copy.
Station Houston, Space to Ground 2 for Talkin' Johnny regarding the docking camera.
Johnny, talk here, send it.
Hey guys, wanted to let you know that the docking camera is currently configured to only be routed to the cupola, so we would like to vector you guys to the cupola, if that's all right.
Moving.
Thank you kindly.
We are coming to you live from the International Space Station's Flight Control Room. The NASA Flight Control Team here in Mission Control Houston and the SpaceX team in Hawthorne, California are in integrated operations. Here on the ground in Houston, Flight Director Elias Mirmo is overseeing today's spacecraft arrival. Capcom, our capsule communicator, who you see on his right, is Gunny Lesarge, who you've heard talking to crew today. And the visiting vehicle officer today, or VVO, is Ethan Good. The VVO serves as the guidance and navigation liaison between the space station and visiting vehicles such as Dragon.
And on 2, while we wait for WHC answers, I'd like to just knock out this TOCA activity real quick. Wanted to see if you guys have done steps 1 and 2.
So Vapor, I pass you a couple of things. Steps 1 and 2 for what you were just talking about are complete, and you're good to proceed. However, I also pass you our next steps for the WHC. We'd like to have you turn off the WHC urine valve. We would then like to have you check the vent caps orientation per figure 12, as well as the manual connectors, making sure they're all marked as flush and mated.
Okay, copy that. I will stand on TOCA for now. I'll turn off the WHC and then I'll check the vent caps and all of the connections.
Copies. That's a good readback.
Houston Station on 2 for WHC. So the vent caps are actually per figures 5 and 6. My understanding figure 12 was the installed tank that then after removing it, you flip the caps to point towards them. So again, the vent caps on Bravo 1 and 2 are pointing away from the tank, and the vent cap on Bravo 3 is pointing toward the tank.
Okay, copy all, Vapor. That is a good config from our perspective. Thank you.
Station and Dragon are currently 300 meters apart, and they're currently traveling northwest to southeast, about to cross the west coast of Africa. The view you're seeing on your screen is the view from the cupola that Johnny Kim, NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, and JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi are monitoring from the cupola.
And Houston Station on 2 for WHC, the Arrow 2, 4, and 5 connections all look flush to me.
Okay, we copy. Thank you for the data. We'll let you know when we have more.
Got that.
Dragon is continuing to make its way along the docking corridor as it approaches the docking access, or waypoint 1, in about 3 minutes from now.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. MCC Houston is go for Dragon to approach to waypoint 2.
Station copy.
What you just heard is the go for approach to waypoint 2, which gives the go to bring Dragon to a point just 20 meters away from station. As Dragon closes in on waypoint 1, we just heard that go to keep going to waypoint 2. Waypoint 1 puts Dragon on the docking axis. That docking axis is 220 meters or 720 feet away directly in front of the docking port. Dragon has made its way to the docking axis directly in front of the Zenith port at waypoint 1 and is currently en route to waypoint 2. As a reminder, we just heard that go for approach to waypoint 2 call, meaning that all Dragon systems checked out nominally on its path to the docking port. And with that nominal checkout, Dragon did not need to pause at waypoint 1 and is continuing directly on to waypoint 2.
Dragon range 200 meters and decreasing in the corridor, attitude nominal.
Houston copies.
Dragon is 200 meters away from the space station on its way to waypoint 2, which is just 20 meters away. Waypoint 2 is the 20-meter or 65.5 feet final checkpoint in front of the Zenith docking port before making its way to docking.
Base station procedure review of steps 5 and 6 complete. Crew is ready for docking.
Station Houston copies. At waypoint 2, Dragon will hold for approximately 6 minutes.
Station copy.
You just heard that call. The Dragon's going to make a pit stop for 6 minutes at waypoint 2, and usually it's about 1 minute, but today there's going to be 2 additional operations once it arrives to that point. First is an assessment of Dragon Eye performance with the new International Docking Adapter Zenith Planar Reflector. And the second additional objective at waypoint 2 today is a pre-planned reduction in C2V2 return link rate to increase link margin for docking.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2 for Vapor and WHC. Vapor, we talked about it a bit, and I think we would like to request one more dose. So I'd like to have you go ahead and do this now. Make sure when you do the dose, please check the ECA hose to make sure that it is clear that pre-treat is moving through the hose. How copy?
Okay, copy that. So you want me to run block November, do one manual dose, and then as that dose is moving, make sure that I can see the liquid moving.
Good words from us. That's the plan.
Dragon just closed in on less than 130 meters away from the space station as the spacecraft and the International Space Station are tracking down the west coast of Africa.
And Houston Station, right in block November, the pre-treat bad qual light did not come back on, so it looks like a nominal startup. Do you still want me to just do one dose to make sure?
Dragon is continuing on its docking corridor route as it approaches waypoint 2, currently just about 100 meters away from the space station.
The good news there, Vapor. So that makes WHC go for use. Hold the dose that we asked you for. However, our ask going forward is if you see any more off-nominal lights, please immediately hold and let us know, because we'll want to troubleshoot that.
Okay, copy that. I'll pass that on to everybody.
Copy that. Thank you.
Dragon is currently making its way to waypoint 2, where we'll take a 6-minute pit stop for final evaluation of its systems to ensure alignment before resuming approach and closing in for contact and capture. Now, typically that pit stop is 1 minute, but today there will be 2 additional test objectives once Dragon arrives to waypoint 2. During that 6-minute pit stop, they will first assess the Dragon Eye performance with the new International Docking Adapter Zenith Planar Reflector. This new reflector was just installed by NASA astronauts Sunny Williams and Nick Hague just a few months ago during a spacewalk this January. The second additional objective at waypoint 2 today is a pre-planned reduction in C2V2 return link rate to increase link margin for docking. If you're just joining us, we're providing live coverage of the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft's arrival to the International Space Station. Dragon is currently 50 meters away from the International Space Station on its way to waypoint 2, the final pit stop before docking. Teams just reported that Dragon's systems have checked out nominally on its way to waypoint 2, just 20 meters away from the space station. Dragon has made it to its final pit stop, just 20 meters in front of station, and will pause here for approximately 6 minutes before resuming its approach.
Houston Station, Dragon holding 19.8 meters in the corridor, alignment nominal.
Copy that, Johnny. We're showing a good hold.
That was the voice of NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, who's currently monitoring today's docking operations.
Station Houston on 2. Expect C2V2 step down shortly. Stand down from monitoring Dragon docking cameras in 1.102 at this time.
Station copy.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2 for any available crew. Request cease exercise activities at this time.
The view you see on your screen is what NASA astronaut Johnny Kim and JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi are seeing through the cupola. And we just heard Johnny Kim confirm nominal alignment. Dragon is currently at its final pit stop, about 20 meters away from the International Space Station. Typically, this is a 1-minute stop just to assure alignment, but today there are a few additional test objectives the team's handling now.
Station copy. So we'll make sure no one's exercising.
Copy. Thank you.
The spacecraft continues to focus on aligning its docking system with the docking adapter. Dragon will then fly in and make contact with the docking adapter, giving us what we call soft capture. The soft capture ring then retracts until sensors indicate it's time for hooks to drive in place to give us a hard capture and firmly secure Dragon to station. Just before docking, when Dragon reaches 2 meters or about 6.5 feet away, you will hear the call CHOP. CHOP stands for Crew Hands Off Point, telling the crew not to send any commands, and at that point, Dragon is committed to docking. The team is working that second additional objective today at Waypoint 2. It's a pre-planned reduction in C2V2 return link rate to increase link margin for docking.
Station Houston on 2, C2V2 link reconfiguration is complete. Expect approach to resume shortly.
You copy?
Teams are go for final approach and docking. If you're just joining us, the SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft is at its final pit stop and about to start making its final approach to the International Space Station.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. Dragon is on final approach and is go for docking. Monitor per steps 5 and 6 in 1.102. Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Station copy, in work.
Dragon has resumed its approach to the International Space Station, closing in on 15 meters. Dragon is delivering more than 3 tons of cargo to the International Space Station crew of 7. Dragon is moving at 8 centimeters per second, closing in on 13 meters away. Dragon is 10 meters away, or 32 feet from the International Space Station. This is SpaceX's 32nd cargo resupply mission to the space station and is en route to deliver 6,700 pounds of research and supplies to the crew on board. Station is closed in on 5 meters, or 16 feet away. Station is 3 meters,
2
or about...
meters, crew hands-off point.
Houston, copy is hands off.
Station is less than 6.5 feet away. You heard that crew hands off point. At this time, Dragon is committed to docking.
Station Houston on space to ground 2, Dragon contact and soft capture complete.
Station copies and concurs that capture is complete. Dragon has arrived to the International Space Station at 7:40 a.m. Central, 8:40 a.m. Eastern, while flying 260 miles over the southern Indian Ocean. Now we're waiting for the relative motion between the two vehicles to dampen out before the initiation of 12 hooks, forming a hard mate between itself and the International Space Station. Ring retraction is in progress.
Station Houston on 2, ring retraction in progress.
The capture ring on Dragon is now interacting with the International Docking Adapter, drawing Dragon closer in for those hooks to engage and do a hard mate with the space station.
Station Houston on 2, ring retraction in progress.
If you're just joining us, more than 3 tons of science investigation supplies and equipment just arrived to the International Space Station at 7:40 a.m. Central, 8:40 a.m. Eastern, while the space station was flying off the coast of the was flying 260 miles over the southern Indian Ocean. And what to expect next. Dragon's 12 hooks, 2 sets of 6 hooks will engage for a hard capture. The docking mechanism ensures the interface is flush and allows for the first set of 6 hooks, followed by the second set of 6, which takes approximately 13 minutes. After that, a couple of umbilicals will also be extended to get power and data from station to Dragon. With this extension of power, that'll move Dragon into what's known as acquiescent mode, essentially becoming an integrated piece of station once it's docked. The ring alignment is complete, ready to go to hook close.
Station Houston on 2, ring retraction is complete. Docking sequence is holding for MCS reconfiguration.
Copy.
Next, Dragon's 12 hooks, 2 sets of 6 hooks will engage for a hard capture.
Station Houston on 2, MCS configured, proceeding with hook driving.
Station copy.
Flight controllers on the ground and the crew on station confirm that those hooks are beginning to drive and the Dragon spacecraft is latching itself securely into the space station. The first set of 6 hooks are traveling. Once Dragon has made it to the space station, there will be a vacuum-tight seal. It'll then be pressurized to match the same pressure as station, pausing periodically for leak checks. And once pressurized, the crew will be able to open the hatch on the station side and Dragon side and begin operations to unload the cargo. The first set of 6 hooks are closed, and the second set of 6 are currently driving. If you're just now joining us, Dragon has arrived to the International Space Station at 7:40 a.m. Central this morning while flying 260 miles over the southern Indian Ocean. Dragon is delivering about 6,700 pounds of research and supplies to the Expedition 73 crew of 7 currently on board. The first set of 6 hooks are closed, and we're waiting on the second set of 6, which are currently driving. Once those 12 hooks have latched, hard capture will be complete, but then a couple of umbilicals will also be extended to get power and data from station to Dragon. After some pressurization and leak checks, later on the crew will open the hatch and start unloading the cargo into the International Space Station.
Station Houston on 2, hard capture complete.
Roger, hard capture complete. Huge thank you and congratulations to our International Space Program, Commercial Program, and SpaceX for a successful mission. With the success of CRS-32, we look forward to all the science experiments we'll be conducting the following weeks to bring back to Earth.
That sounds great, Johnny. Good words. Additionally, we can pass you that the exercise constraint is now lifted.
Roger, thanks.
Station Houston on 2 for Johnny. With that complete, you have our go to step into 3.100 ISS Cargo Dragon vestibule pressurization and ingress.
Lobby and work.
Good words from Johnny Kim, and we have a successful tight seal with Dragon in the space station thanks to 12 hooks that have successfully latched into the International Docking Adapter. This creates a vestibule that the crew will soon pressurize, conduct leak checks, and be able to open the hatch and start removing the cargo later today. With that, docking is complete. We heard confirmation from Mission Control team members in Houston, and the cargo spacecraft is scheduled to remain docked for about a month and will return to Earth off the coast of California. JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi was on board monitoring arrival, and NASA astronaut Johnny Kim, who you just heard, is assisting in the pressurizing of the vestibule and spacecraft. Following its launch yesterday, NASA's SpaceX 32nd Commercial Resupply mission, carrying more than 3 tons of science, supplies, and equipment, has arrived to the Expedition 73 crew of 7 aboard the International Space Station. The SpaceX Dragon cargo spacecraft docked to the zenith port of station's Harmony module at 7:40 a.m. Central, 8:40 a.m. Eastern this morning. This will conclude our coverage this morning. But next up for station is the U.S. Spacewalk 93 on May 1st. You can tune into our preview briefing this Thursday, April 24th at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern to learn more about what the 6.5-hour spacewalk with US EVA 93 will entail. Thank you for joining us this morning as we follow the rendezvous and docking of the Dragon cargo spacecraft for SpaceX's 32nd Commercial Resupply mission to the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston.
Welcome, space enthusiasts. You're tuning in live to the historic launch of SpaceX's CRS-32 mission, a vital mission to the International Space Station, ISS. This mission marks the 32nd successful resupply mission, a partnership between NASA and SpaceX, and today we will witness cutting-edge technology, teamwork, and the incredible journey of delivering supplies to astronauts aboard the ISS. Buckle up, because we're about to take you on an incredible ride into space. SpaceX's CRS-32 is one of the many missions in the Commercial Resupply Services program. Each mission plays a crucial role in ensuring the ISS stays stocked with everything astronauts need, from food and water to cutting-edge science experiments. But this mission is more than just a supply run. It's also about pushing the boundaries of space technology, improving our understanding of the universe, and providing support for scientific research. Key points to mention: CRS-32's objectives, e.g., delivering experiments, tech, and crew supplies. The Dragon spacecraft's capabilities, autonomous docking with the ISS. Falcon 9's reusable rocket technology. As we count down to liftoff, take a moment to appreciate the engineering marvel that is Falcon 9. Built by SpaceX, this rocket is designed for reusability, which reduces costs and makes space travel more sustainable. And of course, it's powered by a spectacular set of Merlin engines that will push this rocket and Dragon spacecraft into the cosmos. Now that Falcon 9 has successfully launched, we are watching the Dragon spacecraft travel towards the ISS. With autonomous capabilities, Dragon will dock with the space station, delivering its precious cargo. But let's not forget the science behind this mission. Inside Dragon, there are crucial experiments, some that could change the way we understand space and even life on Earth. Here it is, the moment we've been waiting for. The Dragon spacecraft is approaching the International Space Station. Using precise maneuvers and the guidance of astronauts on board the ISS, Dragon will dock securely, ready to offload its supplies. This critical phase ensures that the astronauts have what they need to continue their mission in space. Now that Dragon is securely docked, the astronauts can begin unloading the cargo. This isn't just food and supplies. These deliveries can range from new science experiments to spare parts for the ISS itself. Each piece of cargo has a specific purpose in helping further human exploration into space. As we wrap up today's event, it's important to remember that this mission is part of a larger vision for space exploration. The collaboration between NASA and SpaceX is pushing humanity toward even greater achievements, be it Mars exploration, advanced space stations, or new scientific discoveries. That's it for today's live coverage of SpaceX's CRS-32 mission. We've witnessed another milestone in space exploration and the powerful partnership between NASA and SpaceX. Remember, every successful mission brings us one step closer to unlocking the mysteries of space. Stay tuned for more exciting developments in the world of space travel.